Hi folks, welcome back. We're looking at another tutorial for Unity Playground. This one a little bit more advanced where we're going to have a character, in this case a pufferfish, and the pufferfish is going to be able to inflate and deflate in order to defend against enemies. So in order to do this tutorial, I'm going to use some assets that I've gotten from Kenney.nl. I find a lot of the assets that I use for teaching from Kenney, and there's a lot of great stuff in here. If you just click on free assets, you'll be able to explore all of this stuff. But specifically, I'm looking at the fish pack, which is a 2D package, and you can download it here. Now, a lot of these resources from Kenney are fabulous. This package is not quite perfect. There's a little bit of bleed from one tile into the next, and I did a little cleanup to make the fish that I'm using. So I've taken the pufferfish, I took it into Photoshop, and I essentially just deleted the belly. So I have a small version and a large version. If you'd like to do this with the same assets, feel free. But if you'd like to use different assets, this should be a tutorial that will help with any changing player that gets bigger and has a collide or attack in one of those states, but not the other. So what am I going to do? Well, first I'm going to go ahead and right click up here, and I'm going to say create empty. And this is going to be my player. So I'm going to name it player, and I'm also going to tag it in the upper right as player. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag one of, typically my smaller one, onto that game object, which somehow didn't get its name correctly. Player, hit return. That should save this time. So there is my skinny puffer. And then I'm going to put my big puffer on the same thing. So I'm dragging that onto player. There we go. So if I was to turn one of these off, they should be essentially the same thing, but one is bigger than the other. One has a belly, essentially. So what we are now going to do is I'm going to select the base node, the empty that I've named player, and I'm going to add my movement. So let's add move. I don't want to have gravity on this because it's going to be a fish floating in the sea. I prefer using the WASD, as we've all seen, and that's going to get me set up to move around. I'm also going to want to put some collisions on here so that I can't just fly through things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off puffer big by clicking that. This turns off the entire component, not just turning off the render. And then on skinny puffer, I am going to actually just leave that on, but on player, I'm going to add a new component, and I'm going to try using Capsule Collider 2D. I've been using Capsule Collider a lot more for my player collisions. It's working a lot better than using Polygon. So if you're having any problems with things getting stuck on corners, I highly recommend this. So for this fish, I'm going to change this to horizontal, and then I'm going to change this value to 1 in the X and 0.5 in the Y. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the X and sort of fine tune it a little bit more, then open my extra options and slide in the X so that it's overlapping, and slide in the Y so it's overlapping the actual graphics that I have. I don't need to get it perfect, but I do want it a little bit accurate. That's feeling like it's pretty good. So I'm going to use that for my collisions. And if I want to play test this, there's my fish, and I can move it around with the WASD. Fabulous. Okay, now I want to set up a button in this case where I am going to be able to inflate and deflate my pufferfish. So on player, I'm also going to add a component of condition key press. There it is. Let's grab that. And I'm just going to use the space bar for now. So whenever I hit the space bar, something is going to happen. And I'm going to click plus, on off, and I'm going to turn on off the skinny puffer. And then I'm going to add another on off action, which is going to be the big puffer. So every time I hit spacebar, I will turn one off and I will turn the other on. Let's test that. Okay, I can move. I can turn on my puffer by hitting the spacebar, and I can move around with the other avatar. Fabulous. Now the way I have this set up is that it is when you press the spacebar, you turn it on, and when you press the spacebar, it turns off. If you'd like to have it set up where it turns on whenever you hold down the spacebar, you could also add a second condition key press of released and set up the same on-off actions. That would have the same effect. Okay, so this is working, but what I really want to do in this tutorial is I want to take the big puffer and have it have a hit area that it can damage other things. So in order to do that, I'm going to turn it back on so I can see it, and then I'm going to add a new component of Circle Collider 2D. And I'm going to try and tweak that radius, maybe turn it down just a little bit, and extra options. I'm going to move this a little bit in the X. So my idea is it's a little bit bigger. Let's make that 0.5 actually. It's a little bit bigger than the fish is, which is the idea that maybe the spikes poke out a little bit, but this is probably a tiny bit too big. 55, that's looking pretty good. Maybe this needs to move over to that's too much. 0.7, oops, 0.7. Really? Oh, 0.07, my bad. Okay, that's feeling pretty good for a hit zone. Now I'm gonna make this is trigger, because the idea that I have here is that it's not actually the area where you collide and stop with a wall, but it's the area that you collide and hit, say, another fish. So to make this happen, I'm just going to do a quick test by going into the Unity Technologies folder. I'm going to grab an image. Let's maybe see if there's a creature here. Oh, yeah, let's grab this fish. So let's throw this fish in here. And let's add component of collision or collider 2D. In this case, it'll be polygon collider. And I'm also going to, now it can collide. I'm also then going to go back to my puffer. And on circle collide, I'm going to add a component, which will be condition area. So again, condition area, from other tutorials, we know condition area works with is trigger. So when something enters the area of this collision, something will happen. And in this case, I am going to add a destroy action where I am destroying the object that is colliding with my fish. Now, I don't have any other objects in the scene, so I could go ahead and test this. So there's my puffer, and it hits the other fish and destroys it. But two things here. Number one, my big puffer is still on, so I want to turn off big puffer. And number two, it's probably smart to not allow this fish to run into anything and destroy it. So on big puffer, we are probably going to want to filter by tag, and we're going to probably want to set this up as a specific tag, like I'm just going to say enemy for now, and then I'll make sure that this fish is tagged as an enemy. Okay, let's try this. So now my fish runs into the other fish and nothing happens, but when I puff, it destroys the other fish. So this is a short, fast tutorial looking at how we can take a avatar, a character for the player, convert it into a different graphic on keypress, and have that different graphic also carry with it a different collision that allows damage. I'm choosing the pufferfish because I think this is a great example where the fish actually gets bigger, and then that hit zone is also getting bigger and allowing you to do damage to other things. Now, I could take this a few steps further where I'm adding a UI, I'm placing health on my character, and then I'm also giving my enemy the ability to hurt me when I'm not in puffer state. But those have been things that I've covered in other tutorials, so go ahead and try and implement those from the other tutorials if that's what you're after, and let me know if you've got any problems or questions in the comments. Hopefully this was helpful for Unity Playground. Cheers.